YouTube is Rico, man. I'm back with another video, man. Y'all see what we got going on. We got the Deadly War in Camden, active gang versus 51st. So you already know what time it is, man. If you're brand new to the channel or you've been watching videos on the channel but not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button now. Don't forget to tell your family and friends about the channel. Hopefully they become supporters of the channel as well. And make sure you guys smash that like button and comment on the video to help the video get recommended to a larger audience of people and hopefully bring in new supporters to the channel as well. And don't forget to turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss out on new uploads. And to be sure you don't miss out on the new uploads, check out the channel every day before y'all go to bed or when y'all wake up in the morning. And also don't forget to follow my IG at LMERico to help me get to 500 followers. With that being said, man, y'all see what's going on. So let me start the screen record. That started and starting the video now.
Two men have been stabbed to death in two separate attacks in Kentish Town in North London last night. The body of the first victim, believed to be in his late teens, was found a couple of hours before police discovered the second victim, who's thought to be in his 20s.
Camden, the heart of fashion and culture in London, with some of the most expensive house prices and biggest tourist attractions in England. And from the outside in, looks like the perfect place to live. But that's what the government wanted to show you. Once we go deeper into the lower income estates of the borough, we start to see a different story. A story of the country's most deprived estates in London being separated from roads of millionaires literally by one street, and how these estates have created a deadly gang war which has taken over the borough in recent years. But before I get into the video, be sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications. Let's get into the video.
And low key, it's like that for a lot of places, man. You always got the government advertising, or whatever the case, advertising the best parts of a city or a part of a city and stuff like that, whatever you want to say. But then not too far away, you got the hoods and stuff where that don't get too much spotlight, obviously because of the fact you want to bring in tourists and stuff. You want to generate money and stuff. You don't want to let people know the ugly secret of these cities and stuff where the bad is and the lower income housing places is and stuff like that, because obviously there's nothing there to highlight to make tourists want to come and see that part of the city and stuff like that. So you always gonna do your best to show the best parts possible, where it's hella people obviously spending money at companies and stuff, and you see the street filled with all these different companies, storefronts, etc., and people walking by and stuff, and you would assume that's just how that whole area is, pretty much, where nothing's really going on. But like I said, man, you got the parts where obviously it's stuff going on and they not gonna talk too much about that because they don't want to scare nobody away and stuff like that. So that's all a marketing tactic right there, man. They know what to market and they know what not to market and reveal to the people that are from the outside looking in and stuff like that. But the people that's living in there knows exactly what's going on and stuff like that. So it's like that for a lot of places for sure, man. But other than that, let's continue on.
So Camden is a borough in northwest London and is very, very close to the centre of London. But despite the area being so close to the rich centre of the capital, in the last few years the war in the area has been going brazy. So historically, unlike neighbouring areas like Islington and Brent, Camden's beef situation hasn't been as active as others. But this all changed around 2016 when a man from Camden called Merce had his watch stolen from another man from another area in Camden. After this, there was some back and forth, which resulted in a big rivalry in the borough, literally between groups of kids that grew up together. One side being gangs built up from a few estates in Camden, which were the Peckwater gang from the Peckwater estate, the QC gang, which were from a road in Camden called Queens Crescent, and Cumbo, which is a gang made up from an estate called Regent's Park in Cumberland Market. They linked up together and called themselves 51st, due to their postcodes being in NW1 and NW5, which is where the 5 and the 1 come from. And from the other side of the feud, we have a gang called Active Gang, which some people may know from their songs, and they're from the Aigo Grove estate in Camden. And Active Gang are affiliated with another gang called CT1 and NRB, which they all linked up and called themselves 71st. And just like that, the war was now on between 51st and 71st over this watch being stolen. So Camden is actually home to a big Somalian community, with a big portion of them residing in Aga Grove, which is the territory of the 71st gang. Such a big community that the majority of 71st members are actually Somalian. And if you watch one of my previous videos on Mali Strip, Somalian people are people you don't want to be messing with, which you will understand more in this video. And this beef was on go from early. In 2017, 2 members of the AG gang, which represent 71st, executed a triple shooting on 3 51st members. 2 of the members ran to a nearby hospital, but while hospital staff was treating the 2 members, they also called police to the hospital to investigate the situation. Once the 2 realized the police was called, they didn't even care about their treatment anymore, and attempted to run out of the hospital while still having bullet wounds lodged in them. But the police ended up detaining them and arresting them after a struggle between the both. The reason they wanted to run was because all 3 members are actually wanted for suspicion of grievous bodily harm, which all 3 were eventually arrested for. Now, of course,
that's another risk you take, man. You can have charges that you pretty much on the run for and stuff like that, but once your ass get hurt, guess where you gotta possibly go to get help and get the best help possible? A local hospital or something. And all your records and everything, police is gonna get notified, because police be looking for people and stuff like that, and some of the main places that they go to look for a person is at a hospital, because if you get hurt, like I said, to the point where you need professional medical help, you're gonna have to go to a hospital. So you better hope you don't have a situation where you get hurt and you on the run and stuff, because if you gotta go to a hospital, you pretty much, you already done for right then and there. Once the police get notified, they gonna let you get your help and stuff, medical help, whatever the case is. But once they get notified, they come to the hospital, they gonna make sure your ass don't leave. And then once you medically cleared to be able to leave the hospital without further treatment, you're going straight to jail. Simple. So that's a lot of the risk you take as well, being in the streets and stuff. So if you got charges and you on the run, just better hope you don't get to a situation where you get hurt and need professional medical treatment. So other than that, that's just a little tip, but y'all pretty much already know that. So we're gonna continue on.
51st weren't happy about this triple shooting, and they were trying to get her back in blood. So they went lurking on the Aga Grove estate and shot a rival in the face with a shotgun. The rival actually managed to survive and make his own way back to hospital. But this beef really kicked off in a situation that wasn't even linked to both of the gangs. So on February 2017, a 16-year-old girl had an Airbnb party in Kensington, West London. You know those type of parties where a girl invites 7 different types of gangs and asks people to leave their beef at home? Yeah, one of those. So at this party,
which is still stupid. I don't know why people do parties inviting all these different people from different neighborhoods and stuff, knowing it's street shit going on and it's probably not a good idea. But at the end of the day, everybody wants to get lit over the violence and stuff. But to be real, man, you can't do something like that. It's just, you just asking for something bad to happen. Because at the end of the day, some of these street beefs, whether it be for murder or other type of crimes and stuff, it might be too much greater than to not be able to, hey, if I see your ass at this party, I'm gonna do this to you, this and that. Like, that's just what it is, man. Some of these beefs you can't just let go. It's just that simple, man. Like I said, especially if it's got murder and other little crimes involved, you can't expect nobody to not bring the beef to the party. It's just that simple. But let's continue on.
There were people from all over London there, but a few uninvited guests tried to pull up to the party. One of these people being a boy from 51st called Dotty and his friend, who pulled up to the party with a gun and knife looking for trouble. But the night turned left for Dotty and his friend, and ended up with Dotty being chased down by 20 young boys. And when the boys caught up to him, they stabbed him 13 times altogether, which actually resulted in Dotty dying, which 4 16-year-old boys from Hackney and Tottenham were sentenced and convicted for.
Pulled up to the party looking for trouble, but ended up having to run for your life because over 20 plus motherfuckers started chasing you. Talk about bad karma. You was looking for trouble, yet trouble came looking for you, and ultimately you paid the price for it. But let's continue on.
So 51st were mad about this situation, obviously, that their member Dotty was just stabbed to death. So they were out trying to get revenge. So they went out for revenge in a stolen BMW and travelled all the way from Camden in northwest London to Hackney in East London and then to Tottenham in North London, because that's where the people who killed Dotty were from. But they ended up finding no one from both areas. But they weren't trying to go home without spilling some blood first. So 51st went all the way back to Camden to look for 71st members and found an affiliate member of 71st called AK and killed him. But they weren't done there. They were riding for a whole another 2 hours looking for more 71st members and found a 71st member called Mitch's little brother. Mitch's little brother attempted to run into a cab and begged the driver to drive him to safety, but the driver refused to move and he was dragged out of the cab and stabbed to death by 51st members, all within 2 hours of their first murder they committed that night, and 6 members were sentenced.
In that situation, the cab driver, man, kind of his fault, but also too, it's a risk you take being in the streets. If you know you beefing with motherfuckers, you better not be caught walking around or not have some type of mobile car of your own, etc., etc., because at the end of the day, if you get jammed up, you can't really rely on a stranger, even if it's a public car transportation of some sort. You can't rely on them to, just because you might have an emergency or in a rush, to expect them to pretty much take you to safety, etc., etc., because at the end of the day, they don't know what's going on, and they ultimately got a right to refuse service if they feel like it's a reason why they shouldn't give you a service, or whatever the case is, however you want to put it. But yeah, man, that's just another tip right there, man. Just don't go to a neighborhood that you might possibly be lacking in and you only walk in, or you ain't got nobody to get you out of a jam if it came to it type shit, man. You gotta come prepared at all times, because that's just how the streets is, man. It don't matter what you might got going on or what kind of day you having, etc., etc. If you beefing with motherfuckers and they catch you or even think that it's you, anything could go south. Everything. Don't matter. It's just that simple.
To life for these murders. Then on September 4th, 2017, a member from 51st called Flips and the older brother of the second boy who died that night called Mitch bumped into each other on Hampstead Road in Camden and started getting into a little altercation, which ended with Flips stabbing Mitch in his arm, neck and back, leaving the knife lodged into Mitch's bones and murdering him. An undercover policeman just happened to witness this whole situation and ran down Flips and arrested him, and now Flips is serving 17 years to life for this murder. After this, the beef in Camden went under some serious investigation by police, and members from all sides started to get taken down for conspiracies, firearms and drug charges, and the beef started to die down a bit. But then 2019 hit, and quite a lot of the members that were locked up started to come out, and taking in consideration that 51st members, just before everyone started going to prison, had killed 3 71st members. 71st members started coming out of prison on some demon time, and were most definitely looking for revenge with no warnings. The first signs that 71st was really back was on a cold Tuesday in February. 1 AM in the morning, a 51st member called Gxng was walking past the Sainsbury's in Camden when a 4x4 crashed into him and several 71st members jumped out on him like a pack of wolves, stabbing him repeatedly in his head and body, leaving him literally paralysed and not being able to walk. But that wasn't enough for 71st members. They wanted someone dead for their friends. So on April 1st, 2019, a suspected member of 51st called C. Miz and his cousin were walking down Grafton Road in Gospel Oak, Camden, when 4 71st members jumped out a stolen black car and started chasing them. C. Miz and his cousin split up, but unfortunately the men who jumped out of the car locked onto C. Miz, and C. Miz ended up dropping to the ground when the 71st members started to stab him repeatedly with machetes and then run from the scene. After this murder, 71st members made a song called Congo, and the reason why they called it Congo is because C. Miz was actually a refugee from Congo after him and his family fled the war from over there. And members repeatedly in their songs say that they get their weed from Congo, not Cali, pretty much just trying to say that they're smoking on C. Miz. And as I said before, the majority of these 71st members are Somalian. So after all of this, there was news going about in Camden that 51st members were out on the lurk, and any Somalian they see they're killing.
Heard some really strong intelligence that there is going to be revenge for Calvin's killing, and his friends have literally said they are going to go out and kill any Somali in retaliation. So I just want to make that really clear. This is from a young Somali woman in Camden who's 24 years old, and basically we strongly suspect they're going to go out tonight and kill a Somali.
Which is probably a bit of a...
That's what I be saying, man. The streets, it don't matter if you really a part of the streets for real or not, man. Once something happens, sometimes you got people that's on that type of time where you ain't even got to be a part of the street shit for real at all. You could be a whole civilian. And if you match the description of whoever they going for, they ultimately probably gonna end up killing you, even if you just a mistaken identity. It don't even matter. But even in this situation right here, they said they were gonna go kill a Somali. So even if you a Somali person, but you not a part of the street shit, but yo, pretty much because of your facial features and stuff looks like a Somali, or etc., they gonna still ultimately don't care and try to kill you either way. So that's just the sad truth and reality of being in the streets or living somewhere where street shit goes on, etc., etc. Like I said, you could be a whole civilian, but if you match the description of somebody they after, whether you really a part of the beef for real or not, all they need to see is some similar look, and that's enough for them to go ahead and get on that with you. Simple. So even if you're not a part of the streets, you still could possibly take an L, man. And it's sad, but it's just the real reality, man. At the end of the day, like I said, man, I feel like street beefs should only be kept between the people that's in the streets. It shouldn't come to people that's not in the streets for real. Whether they look like a person that you beefing with, etc., they should still be left alone, unless you know for sure that that's the person y'all after. Because at the end of the day, the civilian, it ain't nothing. It don't give you no credit, no nothing, pretty much. It's to the people that really care about for real shit going on, where if you take down a street member, then yeah, that's credit right there. But if it's somebody that's a civilian, they not giving you credit just because they don't rock with that type of energy. They don't just go out in the streets looking to hurt harmless, regular people. They looking for the people that actually done wrong to them. And it's just that simple. But you got people, like I said, that's on demon time like that for real. So it don't matter to them if you really a part of the shit or not. They just looking to hurt somebody just because somebody of theirs got hurt. That's just the sad reality. But let's continue on. The video almost over. Only 3 more minutes left.
Stretch. But on the other hand, 71st members kept saying that they're warring with Jalirs, which is basically the Somalian word for West African people. Because you have to remember, despite Somalians being dark-skinned and African, a lot of Somalians don't really see themselves the same as other black people. So this was kind of turning into a race war between Somalian and black people in Camden, which is just all wrong for...
And I never understood that, like, that's even out here. Africans, they kind of hate black people that's not from Africa, or they just feel some type of way. I wouldn't even say hate, more so just because they just feel some type of way. If you're not African but you black, they kind of feel some type of way about you and got their own stereotypes and stuff like that against black people that's not African. So it's definitely everywhere. I definitely can basically say I feel what they talking about for sure over there, where they got Somalis that don't like other black people, or whatever the case is, if they not Somali themselves, etc., etc. Just however you want to say it. I wouldn't even say hate. They just they got their own reasons. I'll just leave it at that. They got their own reasons for not liking other black people if they not Somali themselves. So it is what it is, man. I never understand it, and I just don't get it. But who knows, man? They got their own reasons, and it is what it is.
For so many reasons. But 71st weren't happy enough with the killing of C-Miz. They wanted to spill more blood. So August 12, 2019, 6 members started circling the states of 51st members in a stolen Ford Fiesta and a stolen Seat. When they spotted 16-year-old culprit and the other members coming out of a restaurant around 10:30 p.m. Culprit and other members ran to a nearby set of blocks near Euston Road. But 71st members found them later on that night, and 3 members jumped out and chased them down, catching up to the 16-year-old 51st member called Culprit. Culprit was running for his life and literally screaming for help, banging on neighbors' doors to let him in so he could escape his attackers. But when the 71st members caught up to him, 2 71st members held him, while a 3rd member repeatedly pushed a 1-foot-long zombie killer knife through his chest while it was coming out of his back. And when the 71st members were done, the killers were said to be running away after, laughing hysterically, which is what bystanders said. And Culprit, he was just any normal kid from London. He was talented at football and even had trials for Southampton Football Club, but started getting involved in a local gang and brushed aside. football. And unfortunately,
And that's another thing I just don't understand, man. Like, you got young individuals that got potential to be a star in something like a sport, but they rather risk it all by trying to be a part of the streets and shit. But at the end of the day, if you get jammed up like he did, screaming for help and all that type of stuff, at the end of the day, you just pretty much threw your life away for nothing. And I always tell people, you don't gotta be in the streets or do street shit to be cool, to get love, to get support, to get females, etc., money. If you got the potential to be a star for real, especially in the sport, in his situation, take that road. Because you're gonna make more and live a way more comfortable life than you would being a part of the streets. Especially if you get known in that sport professionally, you're gonna get more money, you're gonna get the same or more amount of females than you would in the streets, being a part of the streets. And on top of that, you got the luxury of living a more comfortable life, living in better neighborhoods and staying out of the way of stuff like this. So I just don't get it why somebody with so much potential would throw it all away just to be a part of the streets. I never understood that. I got people that I've known and grown up with that had the potential to be somebody in basketball. Because out here in the States, basketball is one of our major big sports to pretty much play professionally in and make millions and millions on top of millions. And possibly become a billionaire by the end of your career if you play in the NBA. But back to what I was saying though, I done grown up around people that had the potential to be somebody in sports, but lost their life because they wanted to be a part of the street life and stuff like that, or wanted to run the streets, wanted to have the clout of the streets, etc., etc. So I definitely know people like him. Sad thing, man. Like I said, I would never understand why people would rather be a part of the streets than be a professional person in sports and make millions and be out the streets and out the hood. I just don't get it. But let's continue on.
unfortunately became a victim of the streets. Now, as these back and forths normally go, 51st were now looking for revenge on their recent errors. And there were many...
And two, before we continue on, I just thought about it. I could get, like, yeah, you probably lost a family member or something in the streets, but that don't mean you supposed to be a part of the streets and try to get revenge or whatever the case is to pretty much retaliate for what happened to your family member. Let the people that's already in the streets beefing over that stuff handle that. You, on the other hand, find another way. Go play professional sports, get money, and just take the rest of your family or friends out the hoods if you really care about them and if you feel like they're worthy enough to be taken out of those situations and stuff, because you know at the end of the day they would do the same for you type shit. Or if you just that giving of a person, then do exactly that. Just take everybody out the hood that you care about. Family, friends, don't matter. Just take them out the hood. And plus, we ain't gonna get into all the other stuff you could do as a rich person if you got that type of bag, if you know what I'm saying. Look at the beefs between millionaires and in the rap industry. Like the beefs in Chicago. You got Dirt, one of the richest, and still beefing and stuff, or keeping beefs going, etc., etc. That's going on and stuff behind the scenes, behind the music and stuff like that. But he got money and stuff. He ain't even got to do nothing himself if he don't want to. He can have somebody else do that. So just think about it. You pretty much get what I mean by that now. So, like I said, you could do more without actually being in the streets if you got that bag and you got you got people that's tied into that shit. And if you want to be a part of it one way, at least do it the smart way, the more safer way. Stay behind the scenes. Just put in money to those beefs and leave it at that. But make sure don't nothing come back tied to you that you putting in money for these things to happen. I'm not saying that you should. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm just giving y'all some game, free game. Like, if you want to be technical, that's the smart way. But like I said, man, you got people that really want to be in the streets for real, be a part of that shit, and be seen in the streets for real. So, two people do that for a reason. But other than that, I ain't gonna get into all of that, man. That's gonna cause this video to be way longer than it already is. It's already at 24 minutes, so it's only like 2.5 minutes left. So I'm gonna let this finish out and end the video.
Stabbings across the month, and early on in September there was a case of 3 killings in 5 days in Camden. One of these being a man from a completely different area all the way in East London, but unfortunately he was walking at the wrong place at the wrong time. So he was actually walking on Queens Crescent estate, which is a hotspot for 51st members, and was shot and killed in a drive-by, being mistaken for a 51st member. Just an hour before, another woman was stabbed to death just a few hundred yards from the situation, and 4 days later a 71st member called Nuts was stabbed to death by a gang of 51st members with machetes outside one of the busiest areas in London, Camden Tube Station. And for the longest, a lot of people didn't even know all this stuff was going on until a 71st member called Suspect started jumping on the drill scene, calling himself the Camden Grim Reaper, and releasing some of the most disrespectful tunes towards his ops. So much that police take down pretty much any song that the gang uploads, which really started to bring some attention to what's happening down there, and definitely got the attention of me, especially a song from Suspect called Dugout, which is probably one of the most disrespectful songs I've ever heard, and really makes you deep how tapped this whole beef is. In one of his lines,
Y'all want me to react to that song? Comment down below. I'll definitely go ahead and check it out though. But other than that, let's continue on.
he says,
Same place we used to play runouts, it's the same place his chest got dug out. Same place I was telling you play out, it's the same place I'm telling you come out.
which really makes you think, damn, these guys were close friends at one time, and now they're trying to kill each other. All stemming from a little small altercation that happened a couple years back. But anyway, guys,
And that's a lot of the same things out in the States, man. You got people that grown up together, but something happened where now they a part of gangs and stuff, and now they trying to kill each other or whatever the case is, etc., etc. So yeah, man, it's just crazy how life works, man. Like, you could grow up, be cool with somebody one day in your childhood, but once y'all get older, they might go their separate ways because of street shit, and you might go into the same type of lifestyle as well, but a part of a different neighborhood or a gang, etc., etc. And now y'all beefing with each other and trying to kill each other and shit over some crazy, whether it be over an actual person getting harmed in a situation or something coming up stolen. That's just enough for a beef to be warranted right there in the streets. But other than that, man,
that's it for today's video.
yeah, that's pretty much the end of the video, man. So other than that, if you guys enjoyed my reaction to this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're brand new to the channel. Don't forget to tell your family and friends about the channel. Hopefully they become supporters of the channel as well. And hopefully this video gets recommended to a larger audience of people. Hopefully bringing new supporters to the channel as well. And also, don't forget to turn on post notifications so you guys don't miss out on new uploads. And be sure you don't miss out on new uploads. Check out the channel every day before y'all go to bed or when y'all wake up in the morning. And also, don't forget to follow my IG and help me get to 500 followers at LMERico. Other than that, that's the end of this video, and I'm gonna catch y'all later on with more. Peace.